Garlic prosciutto baked Brussels sprouts, one of our Thanksgiving favorites. To prepare Brussels sprouts, first rinse the sprouts thoroughly while picking off any loose leaves and ensuring to get any dirt or debris off the sprouts. Then we are going to cut off the very end of the Brussels sprout, but not so much that we make the leaves fall off. Then we are going to score an X in the bottom of the sprout. This will ensure that our sprouts will cook evenly. Bring a pot of cold water to a boil and add the salt. Add the Brussels sprouts and simmer uncovered for about 7 to 10 minutes. You don't want the water boiling too hard, otherwise the sprouts will tumble into each other and the leaves will start to fall apart. Cooking the sprouts uncovered allows the gases to escape and also helps them stay nice and green. While the Brussels sprouts cook, prepare an ice bath. After about 7 minutes, test one of the larger Brussels sprouts for doneness. They should be cooked all the way through, but still have a bit of firmness to them. Brussels sprouts are often overcooked, which is what produces that sulfurous smell. As soon as they are done to your liking, place them in the ice bath and cool for 3 to 4 minutes. This will stop the cooking process, set the color, and remove most of the sulfurous smell. Remove the Brussels sprouts out of the water and drain well. Next, we are going to slice our prosciutto. Place 3 slices of prosciutto on a cutting board. Slice lengthwise, then place the slices atop one another and julienne into 1/4 inch slices. The prosciutto can be a little bit sticky at times, so be mindful of that. You also, when slicing, want to ensure that you keep your fingers tucked so the knife blade never comes in contact with the tips of your fingers. Next, we are going to prepare the fresh thyme. Start by taking a sprig of thyme and then pulling it through your fingers to remove all of the leaves. Sometimes this can get a little bit tricky as the main sprig does have other little sprigs going off it. So you want to pull as many of the leaves off as you can. We're going to use about 2 to 3 sprigs of thyme. Once we've gotten the leaves off, we are going to gather the leaves into a pile on the cutting board. We're going to coarsely chop the thyme, and then we want to make sure that we are keeping our fingers, again, tucked so we have no worries about cutting them. Place them into the bowl and reserve for later use. Next, we're going to get ready to make the delicious garlic and prosciutto infused Mornay sauce. We're going to start by getting a small saucepan on the stove over medium-low heat. We're going to place 2 tablespoons of butter in the pot and let that melt down. We're going to add 2 cloves of chopped garlic, and we're going to saute that together. We're going to let that cook for a minute or 2. You want to get that nice aroma of garlic. And then we're also going to ensure that we continuously stir. Next, we're going to add our prosciutto. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to let that cook a little bit. We want to render just a little bit of that fat off there. And we're going to stir that around in the butter to help infuse that all together. You want to ensure that we are just melting these flavors together and we're not actually browning them. So ensure that you're watching the heat to keep the mixture from burning or browning. Next, we're going to add in our 2.5 tablespoons of flour, and we're going to make a blonde roux. Now we want to keep this, again, from getting that color because we don't want to change any of the flavor. The longer you cook a roux or you get that little deeper color, you're going to have more of a nutty and earthy tone with that. So we want to keep our roux nice and blonde, and then we don't want to cook it too long because the longer you cook a roux, the less thickening power a roux has. So we want to ensure that we cook it thoroughly but not overcook it. We're going to stir in and then we're going to pat down the mixture in an even layer across the bottom of the pan to ensure that it's cooking evenly. After this cooks for about a minute, minute and a half, we're going to add our milk, but we're going to add it in gradually. We want to add in about 1/3 of the milk at a time. This recipe calls for whole milk, but you can use skim milk, you can use 1%, you can even use heavy cream if you would like. Now we want to continuously stir this mixture, and as you continuously stir it, you'll see that it starts to get a paste-like consistency. And don't worry about that. We have more of that milk that we're going to add, so we're going to keep going. But as you're stirring, you want to ensure that you get around the sides of the pan too. Bring all that together. And as you continuously stir in the milk, we're just tempering that so we don't cool the pan down too much to ensure that we can keep it a nice even temperature and keep a nice even consistency with the sauce. At this point, it can seem that it's a little bit tedious, but it's well worth it in the end. So again, continue to stir. Make sure you get those edges of the pan. Then we're going to finish by adding the rest of our milk. Continuously stirring, ensuring that we don't have anything sticking or burning to the pan. And you want to watch your temperature because you don't really want it at a boil. You want it at a nice simmer. Continuously stir that, getting the sides. We're going to get ready to start adding in our cheese. So once we get to that point, we're going to turn the flame off, stir it around a little bit, and get that all incorporated. And then we are going to add the cheese. When we add the cheese, we're going to add half at a time. Fold that in, incorporate it nicely, and ensure that the mixture is consistent and mixed well. Now we're going to finish our Mornay sauce. We're going to add in the nutmeg, stir that in. We're going to add in our white pepper. And then we're going to finish it off by adding in our thyme. We're going to stir this all together and just get a nice even distribution of the spices. If you're planning on serving this dish right away, then preheat your oven to 350 as we finish this up. As you can see now, the sauce has a nice consistency, nice and velvety. It sticks to the spoon with a nice coat. Now we're ready to put the dish together. What we are going to want to do is ensure that our Brussels sprouts are well drained. So I ensure that by dumping off any excess water, because you don't want that sauce to wind up thin on you. Now we're going to pour the sauce over the Brussels sprouts. Get it all out of the pan. You can see that nice velvety texture. Coats everything very nicely. And once we get it out of the pan, we're going to ensure that we cover the sprouts nicely. Shake that up a little bit, get it all the way down through. Use your spatula to push it down a little. You can have some up top, it's not going to hurt anything. But you want to try to get everything nicely coated. As I said, you see that nice velvety texture. Look at all that. Then we're going to take the rest of the Parmesan cheese that we had a third cup set aside for just coating it, and that is going to give it again a nice finishing touch. It's going to brown up a little bit over the top. Now we're going to place that dish into a preheated 350 degree oven, and we're going to let that dish cook for about 20 to 25 minutes. Now that the dish is done, we're going to take it out of the oven. You're going to see that the Parmesan cheese is starting to just get a little bit golden in spots. If you want a little more golden, you can definitely cook it a little bit longer. Enjoy.